Hello, it's Pavel again with a C# homework. Once again, we'll be creating some classes using some object-oriented programming techniques. And this exercise is exercise from chapter 2, exercise from chapter 10. Exercise number 2 from Visual C# and Introduction to Object-Oriented Programming by Joyce Farrell. And we're supposed to create a class named tape that includes fields for length and width and properties for each field. We need ToString method that will return the information about the class using getType and the values for length and width. We're also supposed to create two subclasses or child classes that will inherit from the tape class called VideoTape and AdhesiveTape. Now the VideoTape class will have a field that holds playing time and a property for that field, and the AdhesiveTape class will include an integer field that holds the stickiness factor, all right, which is a value that has to fall in the range between 1 and 10. And again, it will be retrieved using the property for the field. And we're supposed to create few objects and make sure and test the restrictions for the adhesive tape. Okay, so fairly straightforward, I suppose. I mean, it's kind of strange that they mix VideoTape and AdhesiveTape. Using a tape class as a base class. This is more of a, because the tape class uses width and length, so that's okay for adhesive tape. But I'm not sure why VideoTape would need length and width. You you really don't need to know that. But this is just an exercise to see how the inheritance works, and how, in case of adhesive tape, how setting a range of values is used. All right, so let's create the class. First, class tape. Where's my add? Over here. I'm gonna add a class and call it tape, just like they want me to. Okay, so we need the length and width of fields. So our private integer length and private integer width. Now we need the constructor. So public tape, and it's going to be user supplies the integer of length, and integer of for the width. That's better. All right. And these, obviously, since these are private, we need public properties to retrieve and assign the data to those variables. We don't want to manipulate them directly, so public integer length, and we will get, what do we get? We get the length, so we will return our length. And as for set, we will set the length using the value. So our length equals value. You really could just use and you know what? Let's do that. We don't need to write it like this. We can simply get and set. And since we are not performing any manipulation whatsoever, we just assign the value and retrieve the value. We can do it this way: integer width, get, and set. And in our constructor, our property length will equal the user supply length. But then again, we wouldn't need the private variables at all. I don't even know why they ask us to have those, since we are not performing any manipulation or any input check, any validation at all. We could literally just use the automatic properties, and I will actually just use them. And width equals width. So these are not needed. All we need is the properties to, like I said, to get the length and the width, and return the length and the width. So, and okay, so we got the tape class, and we need to also get the ToString method to return the string constructed from the return value of the object getType method. So alright, so public override string to string, and let's do our string format. We will get the first placeholder will be the getType. On a new line there will be len, and that will be a placeholder number 1. And finally on the last line there will be the width, which will be placeholder number 2. So these placeholders will hold our length property, our width property, but actually the first one is the getType. And there you go, like that. Now getType, that's what I asked for in the exercise, to use the getType method. GetType method simply returns the class's name and namespace. So it will simply output intro to OOP10 type tape class. Then there will be after that the name of the class, which is tape. That's all that it will output. And of course we will output the length and the width. And I think that's all for the tape class. Yep, and there are 2 subclasses, VideoTape. Alright, let's do the VideoTape. And so let's add a class called VideoTape. And our VideoTape only inherits from the tape class, and it also includes an integer field that holds plain time in minutes and a property for that type, for that variable. So our VideoTape inherits from tape, which means once again they want us to do the integer field and then a property for that field. But since again we are not on this one, but actually not in AdhesiveTape, in VideoTape, again the plain time will be supplied by the user. They're not asking us to do any manipulation or any validation at all, so we can get away with the automatic property again. So I'm just gonna use public, that's gonna be integer play time get and set, and in our constructor public VideoTape I will assign the play times supplied by the user to our playtime property. But before we do that, remember we are inheriting from VideoTape. We are inheriting from tape, which its constructor needs length and width, so we need to supply that. So integer length, integer width, and now we can get the integer play time. Now again, since this is inheriting from tape, the length and width will be processed in the constructor for the tape. So we will simply pass these two values to our base constructor. So we will pass the length and the width. We do not pass the playtime. Tape does not take playtime. Only VideoTape takes the playtime. And there's no semicolon, of course, there. Instead, we will assign our playtime equals, oops, this is wrong. It's supposed to be lowercase because it's a variable, not a property for in our case. So playtime. So again, user has to supply length and width for the VideoTape, which makes no sense, but that's what it is. And then it goes back to the base, and the playtime is assigned in this constructor to our playtime property. I don't think there's any other method, but I like to always do the ToString. So public override ToString, or override string ToString, and once again we will format the output, so it's actually a string.format, and we will format it as the first placeholder will be actually this. We will go back to the base and look at its ToString method and output everything that's in it. And then we will add on the new line, we will add playtime, which will be up for placeholder number 1. All right, so our first placeholder is base ToString, and our second is our property playtime. So when we ask to output information about VideoTape, again it goes to the base class. It will output the name of this of the namespace and the name of the class using the getType, which is going to be the VideoTape class, and then it goes and outputs the playtime that we hold in our property playtime. All right, and lastly, we need to do the AdhesiveTape class. So let's do that one. And it's right here. AdhesiveTape. And this one will be a little different because this one will hold the integer for stickiness, but we will have to verify the input and make sure it is within the range between 1 and 10. So let's do the constructor first, public AdhesiveTape. In fact, what we need to do first is to inherit from tape. Now we can do the public AdhesiveTape. Once again, we have to supply the length because once again it goes to the base class, which is tape. We need the integer for width and an integer value for stickiness. I don't even know how to spell it. Stickiness. I'll spell it like that. How about that? And the length and width again is gonna be processed in the constructor of the tape class. So we'll go to base and pass our length and our width to it. Now as for the stickiness, we will create actually a private variable. Okay, I'm not finished with it, so let me just do the private variable. So private integer stickiness, and we will check that. So we go to create the property for the stickiness variable. So public integer stickiness, and we will do the get return return stickiness and set, and over here we'll have to verify that it's within the range 1 and 10. So I'm thinking how to do that. I mean, it's not hard to do it, but let's say the user supplies wrong information. Let's say he writes 11. So what do we output with that? Just an information, or do we use a default? Over here, this is obviously the length. Well, let me think about that. Well, what I'm going to do is, if it's correct, it will. If the value is entered correctly, it will simply assign it to our stickiness variable, and if it's incorrect, it will assign 0 to our stickiness variable. So, and then we will process that in our output. So if the user supplied is greater than 0 and less than 11, actually let's do it greater or equal to 10, and over here equal to 1. So if it's 1 or more and 10 or less, then oh, and I forgot the value, the word value, then stickiness equals the value because everything's correct. Otherwise it's not correct, so else our stickiness will equal 0. Okay, so we'll check that, and then we will assign the value to it. Now let's do our, I think that's the only method that's required, and yeah, so but let's do the ToString. So public override string ToString, and once again we will go and do our string.format. And the first placeholder again will be, oops, I forgot the quotation marks. Our first placeholder 0 will be whatever is supplied, or whatever is ToString method in the tape class, which is the base class. And then we go to a new line, and over here we will output the stickiness, and that's gonna be placeholder 1. But over here, so our base ToString, oh, why am I too far? Our base ToString is base dot ToString. So that will output everything. That will output the width, the length, the width and the length, and as well as the information about the class itself and namespace for this for the adhesive tape class. And the second parameter. Okay, so since if our stickiness is 0, that means that the user supplied invalid value. So let's do that. So we will use, what are we gonna use? Okay, so we will use a shorthand if statement. So if our stickiness, if our, it's supposed to be in bracket. If our stickiness equals 0, then the output will be invalid input. Otherwise, we will output the stickiness. Otherwise, we will output the stickiness. Okay, so hold on a second. If stickiness equals 0, then output invalid output. Otherwise, output stickiness, but it's supposed to be string, of course, because it's either this string or this string. And do I have too many brackets? Okay, where does this one end? Yeah, that's all. Oh, I always keep forgetting those. Ah, it's correct. All right, so if the user supplies stickiness, we'll check it. If it's correct, good, the value is assigned. Otherwise, we'll assign 0. When we come to string, we will output whatever is in the base class, and then we will check if stickiness equals 0. If it is, we will output invalid input. If it's correct, if it's not 0, then we will output the value for the stickiness. And let's demonstrate that. And over here, I forgot, in the constructor, I have to assign the stickiness to the user supplied argument. Otherwise, obviously, this would never be called. All right, so let's create some objects. So first, let's do a tape equals new tape, and we need to supply length. So it's, let's say, 100, and width, which is 10, for example. Let's create an object called VideoTape, which equals new VideoTape, and it takes 3 arguments: the length, so let's make the length I don't know, 50, the width 5, and the playtime I don't know, 200 minutes. And finally, we'll need the thread class, which is AdhesiveTape. Tape equals new AdhesiveTape. Again, 3 arguments. The first one is length, so let's make it, I don't know, 500. Width 8 millimeter or something. And the stickiness, let's do the first I don't know, 8, which is within the range, which is the correct value. And now let's just output the ToString method for each class. So console dot write line. The first one will be tape. Console dot write line. The second one will be VideoTape. And finally, console dot write line. And it's going to be the AdhesiveTape object. So when I type it this way, this will simply output the tape to string, VideoTape to string, and AdhesiveTape to string. And I need the console.read line to pause the screen. So let's see what we get. Hopefully no exceptions. No exceptions. In fact, we got the values right. So the first one, the getType method that was called, outputs the object, the tape information, and this is the name class, namespace I mean, and this and the class name. The length is 100, which is here. Oops, where did it go? And the width is 10. That is correct. The second object is our VideoTape class. The length is 50. The width is 5, and the playtime is 200. And finally, intro to OOP name class for the AdhesiveTape. Length 500, width 8, and stickiness 8. Now let's do the stickiness that is outside the range. So if I enter let's say 0, it's supposed to be between 1 and 10. Now we should get invalid input message. And as you can see, we do get invalid input message. So if I let's make it over 10, let's say 11, it should be invalid message again, invalid input, yes. So it works, and let's recap quickly. The tape is our base class. It takes length and width as parameters. We use the public properties to get the length, to set the length and then get it, and the same for the width. And we have the ToString method, which is formatted to output the getType information about the class, then the length, and then the width. Now our VideoTape must take length and width because our base class tape takes it, and VideoTape inherits from it. And in addition, it takes also playtime argument, and which is we will assign to our public property. And again, we have an override ToString method, which overrides the base class method of tape. So it will take, again, the getType, it will take the length, it will take the width. In addition to that, which is over here, the base ToString class, in addition to it, we will also output the playtime. And for AdhesiveTape, again, length and width has to be supplied because it inherits from tape. We will also use the stickiness variable, which we assign to our stickiness property. Now in our property, we check if the value the user supplied is within the range. If it is, we will assign that value to our stickiness field. And if it's not, our stickiness field will have a value of 0. Then we go to ToString method, which again calls the base ToString method and outputs the getType, length, and width. And in addition to that, we will decide what to output by using this shorthand if statement. If stickiness equals 0, then output invalid input. Otherwise, output the value of the stickiness property, which is the value that the user supplied. Again, this is basically an if statement that could be read as if stickiness equals 0, then console.writeLine invalid input. Otherwise, console.writeLine stickiness ToString method. So, hope it helped you at least a little, and I will see you next time. Take care.